In Part 1, we followed Colonel Percy Fawcett into the heart of the Amazon, chasing the legendary lost city of Z and vanishing forever. But was his obsession truly madness, or could he have been closer to the truth than anyone realized? Today, modern science and archaeology reveal astonishing secrets beneath the jungle canopy, and the results will change everything we thought we knew about the Amazon. The year was 1925. Percy Fawcett, his son Jack, and Jack's friend Raleigh Rimmel disappeared into the Amazon jungle, never to be seen again. What happened to them remains one of history's most enduring unsolved mysteries. In the years that followed, countless theories emerged, some based on fragments of evidence, others on rumor and speculation. Let's step into the jungle of possibilities. One theory suggests they were killed by hostile tribes. The Amazon in the 1920s was home to many groups who had little or no contact with outsiders. For these tribes, Fawcett and his companions might have seemed like intruders, carrying strange objects, demanding directions, or trespassing on sacred land. Some stories claim that the explorers were ambushed near the upper Xingu region. Their bodies never recovered. Later, travelers even claimed to have seen Fawcett's bones displayed like trophies in a tribal village, though these tales were never verified. Another possibility is that they succumbed to the environment itself. The Amazon is not a forgiving place. Deadly diseases like malaria, parasites, venomous snakes, and endless swarms of insects, starvation is also possible. Despite the jungle's abundance, finding safe food and water requires knowledge and experience. Fawcett, though skilled, may have underestimated the challenges of leading his younger, less experienced companions. Perhaps they perished quietly, their remains swallowed by the jungle. Yet another theory is far more intriguing. Some suggest that Fawcett did not die at all, that instead, he may have found refuge among an isolated tribe. There are accounts whispered decades later of a tall, white-haired man living deep in the jungle, respected as a kind of shaman or elder. Could it have been Fawcett himself, choosing to vanish into the life he sought so desperately? We may never know. Beyond these possibilities, myths and hoaxes only deepened. The mystery. In the 1930s and 1940s, dozens of expeditions went searching for Fawcett, hoping to recover evidence of his fate. Some returned with wild stories. One claimed that Fawcett had become the chief of a hidden tribe. Another swore they had seen his son Jack alive. Still others insisted the trio had discovered the lost city itself and chosen never to return. The lack of hard evidence allowed these rumors to flourish, feeding the legend of the lost city of Z. What made Fawcett's disappearance so powerful was not just the unanswered questions, but the timing. The world was fascinated by exploration, by tales of lost civilizations, by rumors of golden cities hidden in jungles or deserts. Fawcett's vanishing act transformed him from an explorer into a myth, like Amelia Earhart or Atlantis. His name became shorthand for the eternal mystery of the unknown. Even today, scholars, adventurers, and dreamers still debate what happened in 1925. Was it violence, disease, starvation, or something stranger? The truth is hidden, perhaps forever, beneath the dense green canopy of the Amazon. For centuries, the Western world dismissed the Amazon as a wilderness, too harsh, too hostile, too empty to sustain advanced civilizations. Theories about great cities hidden beneath the canopy were often ridiculed. labeled as fantasy, or myths born of gold fever, but in recent decades, modern science has revealed something extraordinary. The jungle is not empty at all. It hides the fingerprints of ancient civilizations. One of the most astonishing discoveries comes from satellite imagery. As deforestation cleared parts of the forest, strange shapes emerged. Geoglyphs, massive earthworks carved into the land, perfect squares, circles, and patterns, stretching for hundreds of meters. These were not natural formations, they were human-made structures. Evidence of organized societies capable of large-scale engineering. Scholars estimate that thousands of these geoglyphs exist across the Amazon basin. Invisible until the forest was stripped away, their purpose remains uncertain. Perhaps ceremonial centers, settlements, or even road markers, but they prove that advanced culture once flourished here. Then there's Kuikugu, a site that may have been home to as many as 50,000 people, hidden near the headwaters of the Xingu River. Kuikugu consists of mounds, ditches, and traces of vast villages interconnected by causeways. Here, archaeologists uncovered evidence of fish farms and agricultural systems. Designed to feed large populations, they also discovered roads stretching for miles through the jungle, connecting one settlement to another. This was no small village, it was an urban network. Hidden beneath the trees, even more fascinating, is the soil. In many parts of the Amazon, scientists found something called terra preta, literally black earth. This rich, fertile soil was not natural. It was engineered by humans more than 2,000 years ago by mixing charcoal, organic matter, and pottery shards. Ancient Amazonians created a soil capable of sustaining intensive farming to this day. These patches of terra preta remain some of the most fertile farmland in Brazil. They are living proof of a population large and advanced enough to transform the landscape on a massive scale. Together, these discoveries rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Amazon. It was not an untouched wilderness. It was a human-shaped environment, carefully engineered, cultivated, and sustained by civilizations long forgotten. Roads, fields, canals, earthworks, cities, all swallowed by jungle after European diseases decimated the native populations. The lost city of Z, then, was never about a single city of gold. It was about this network of interconnected cultures, capable of sustaining tens of thousands of people. Perhaps millions. Fawcett's dream of an advanced civilization, hidden in the Amazon, dismissed in his lifetime as madness, is now supported by archaeology. He may not have found Z, but his instincts were right. These revelations blur the line between legend and history. The Amazon still holds its secrets, but science is proving that beneath the canopy, civilization once thrived. For centuries, the Amazon was dismissed as an untouched wilderness, a green ocean of trees, to hostile to infertile. To sustain great civilizations, scholars long believed that only small, scattered tribes could survive here. But modern discoveries have begun to overturn this myth. Archaeologists and scientists have uncovered evidence that advanced civilizations once thrived in the Amazon. Not isolated villages, but vast, interconnected societies with agriculture, urban planning, and complex social structures. The rainforest itself is yielding its secrets. Satellite imaging has revealed patterns hidden beneath the canopy, straight lines, geometric designs, and the remains of roads that stretch for miles. What seemed like untouched jungle is actually a human-shaped landscape. One of the most startling clues comes from terra preta, the mysterious, black soil found across the Amazon basin, unlike the naturally poor and sandy soils of the region. Terra preta is rich and fertile. It was not created by nature, but by humans. Ancient Amazonians deliberately engineered this soil, mixing charcoal, bones, and organic waste. The result was farmland that could support large populations and last for centuries. This discovery shattered the old belief that the Amazon could not sustain cities. Instead, it revealed that humans transformed the land on a massive scale, and this transformation hints at civilizations far more advanced than previously imagined. Archaeologists have also uncovered evidence of raised fields and fish farms, ingenious systems that allowed communities to thrive in flood-prone regions. These people did not merely survive in the rainforest, they reshaped it. They built engineered landscapes that rival the agricultural feats of ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. Even more astonishing, LiDAR technology laser scanning from aircraft has peeled back the jungle canopy. What it revealed stunned the scientific world. Beneath the trees lay the outlines of massive settlements, plazas, and road networks, cities hidden for centuries by the relentless growth of the forest. Suddenly, the legend of the lost city of Z no longer seemed so impossible. Fawcett's dream of an advanced civilization in the Amazon was no longer fantasy. Science was finally catching up to the myth, but here lies the twist. The discoveries suggest not one great city, but many. The Amazon may have supported millions of people living in a network of cultures across thousands of miles. This was not the El Dorado of Spanish imagination, but something even more profound. A lost world shaped by human hands, erased by time, disease, and conquest. Fawcett had been right. Just not in the way he imagined. The truth was larger, deeper, and more astonishing than any single golden city. The legend of the lost city of Z was never truly about a single city of gold. It was about the persistence of human imagination and the truth hidden within myths. For centuries, Europeans dismissed indigenous stories as exaggerations. Yet these oral traditions preserved fragments of real history. Stories of vast settlements, advanced farming, and sacred landscapes. Stories that modern science now confirms. The Z that Percy Fawcett pursued was not a glittering capital filled with treasure. It was something more complex and more human. A network of cultures that once thrived across the Amazon basin, connected by roads, sustained by fertile soils, and united by shared knowledge of how to tame the rainforest itself. Fawcett's journals hinted at his belief in this possibility. He wrote of strange ruins, of earth mounds and causeways, of rumors that seemed too detailed to ignore. While many mocked him, he sensed the truth. And now, a century later, science has vindicated him. The real lost city of Z is not a single place on the map. It is the revelation that the Amazon was not an untouched paradise, but a human-shaped world, a world erased by epidemics brought by European contact. Civilizations that may have numbered in the millions vanished before their stories could be written down. The rainforest grew back, covering the evidence, but it could not erase the memory carried in myth, or the traces revealed by modern tools. The Amazon, once thought to be nature's final frontier, was in truth one of humanity's greatest achievements. The people who lived there left behind more than ruins. They left a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, that myths may hold truth, and that history is far greater than We imagine the lost city of Z is not one city. It is an entire forgotten world, a world that Percy Fawcett devoted his life to finding, and that modern science is only now beginning to rediscover. For centuries, the Amazon was described as a pristine wilderness, untouched by human hands, a place where nature reigned supreme. But the truth is far more astonishing. Modern science has revealed that the Amazon was not simply a jungle. It was a carefully engineered landscape, shaped by countless generations of people who lived, thrived, and built civilizations here. The great trees, the fertile soils, the networks of rivers and fish farms all point to human design, not wild chance. This revelation changes everything we thought we knew. The lost city of Z was never a single golden metropolis hidden beneath the canopy. It was an entire world of interconnected cultures, villages linked by roads, bound together by trade, agriculture, and knowledge. What disease and conquest erased, the forest reclaimed, leaving behind only whispers of what once was. Fawcett believed he was searching for a single city, but in truth, his instincts led him to something far greater. The Amazon was once a cradle of civilization, a forgotten world, hidden in plain sight. The real lost city of Z is not a city at all. It is the memory of an entire people, an entire history, waiting to be rediscovered. And yet, even with all that science has uncovered, the fate of Percy Fawcett remains an unsolved mystery. Did he perish in the jungle, taken by disease, starvation, or hostile tribes? Or did he find what he was looking for and vanish into the very history he sought to uncover? We may never know the answer, but what we do know is this. Percy Fawcett's dream was not in vain. He was right to believe the Amazon held something extraordinary. He was right to challenge the world's assumptions. Today, archaeologists and scientists continue the journey Fawcett began, piece by piece, uncovering the lost civilizations of the Amazon, proving that the myths of El Dorado and City Z were not merely fantasies, but distorted echoes of real achievements. The jungle still hides its secrets, and with every satellite scan, every excavation, every discovery, we are reminded that history is never finished. It waits beneath the canopy, beneath the soil, beneath the stories told for centuries. The lost city of Z is no longer just a legend. It is a symbol of human resilience, imagination, and the mysteries that remain in the world.